December 8, 1941. The battleship Nagato lies at anchor in Hiroshima Bay, its great hull dark against the morning water. Inside, Yamamoto's staff have been celebrating since the night before. Word of the strike on Pearl Harbor has come in piece by piece through the night, and the picture it assembles is extraordinary. 8 battleships sunk or crippled. The Pacific Fleet's striking power gone in a single Sunday morning. Every staff member aboard the Nagato is celebrating. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto spends the day alone, sunk in apparent depression, the man who designed the attack, who fought for it against 9 months of opposition from his own admirals, who threatened to resign if it was not approved. That man sits in silence while his staff pour drinks and congratulate each other. Not because the plan failed, because it worked. Or why? The answer is not in December 7th, and not in the years of Pacific tension that preceded it. It begins in Brookline, Massachusetts, in the autumn of 1919, with a compact young naval officer, 25 years old, who has just arrived to study economics at Harvard University, the man who will understand, more clearly than perhaps anyone in the Japanese government, exactly what the Pacific War will mean, and who will be unable to stop it anyway. His name at birth is Takano Isoroku, the name meaning 56 in Japanese, his father's age when he was born. He's adopted into the Yamamoto family as a young man, and the name he will carry into history is Isoroku Yamamoto. By the time he arrives in Boston, he is already a veteran. He served at Tsushima in the Russo-Japanese War and lost 2 fingers on his left hand to shell fire in that battle. He is 20 years old when it happens. He will wear a glove on that hand for the rest of his life. At Harvard, he studies economics and petroleum resources. He learns to play poker, genuinely learns it, the way a serious man learns something he has decided to master, and will play for the rest of his life, sometimes through the night, winning steadily. He uses his winnings to hitchhike across the country. He goes to Mexico. He goes to Texas. He walks through the oil fields and watches the derricks working. He goes to Detroit. He stands on the floor of the automobile plants and watches what American industry actually is, not as a number in a report, not as a physical reality. Hundreds of thousands of square feet of production floor, assembly lines running without pause, an economic machinery unlike anything Japan had built, or could build, or was planning to build. He will say later, and the statement will follow him into history. Anyone who has seen the auto factories in Detroit and the oil fields in Texas knows that Japan lacks the national power for a naval race with America. This is not an abstraction. He was there. He saw it. When Yamamoto warns his government in the years that follow, he is not working from estimates and projections. He is working from memory. He returns to Japan. He rises through the naval ranks, and the world he navigates over the next 2 decades moves, with terrible consistency, toward the confrontation he already knows will end badly. And the industrial project that had transformed Japan since the Meiji Restoration, the ships, the steel, the army in China, ran on imported materials. Almost entirely. 6% of Japan's oil came from within its own territory. The rest had to be shipped in, and the country that produced more than 60% of the world's petroleum output was the United States. This dependency shaped every strategic decision Japan made. To sustain its empire, Japan needed resources. To acquire resources, it needed to expand. Expansion kept bringing it into collision with countries that either held those resources themselves or had interests in protecting them. The army's answer is to push north, into Manchuria, into China, eventually into Siberia, where coal and iron and oil lie beneath Soviet-controlled steppe. By the mid-1930s, that push is already underway in China. But the northern frontier produces a crisis the Japanese government will spend years concealing from its own people. In the summer of 1939, Soviet and Mongolian forces under General Gorgy Zhukov meet a Japanese army at Khalkhin Gol on the Mongolian border and destroy it. Not check it. Destroy it. The mechanized warfare Zhukov deploys is 20 years beyond anything the Imperial Japanese Army has faced. The northern path closes. The Navy has been watching the south. Brunei has oil. Malaya has rubber and tin. The Dutch East Indies have oil enough to sustain a war. The southern strategy becomes Japan's trajectory, and with it comes an unavoidable collision, because the United States holds territories and interests across the Pacific. Britain controls Malaya, but neither is inclined to watch the resource base of Southeast Asia fall to Tokyo. Washington responds in stages. Scrap iron and steel embargoed, aviation fuel embargoed. And then, in July 1941, after Japanese forces move into southern Indochina, President Franklin Roosevelt freezes all Japanese assets in the United States. Britain and the Dutch East Indies follow. The result is immediate. Japan loses access to 88% of its imported oil. The Navy is burning 1 million barrels a month. The reserves will last, at current consumption rates, less than 2 years. Less than half that if war comes and the burning accelerates. The clock and the oil gauge fall together now, each tick of one bringing the other's reckoning closer. Japan has two options: seize Southeast Asia before the oil runs out, or submit to American demands. Withdraw from China, renounce the tripartite pact with Germany and Italy, and abandon everything the empire has spent a generation building. There is no third door. The room has gotten very small. Yamamoto has been watching this happen, and he has not been quiet about it. In 1936, he opposes Japan's emerging alliance with Germany and Italy. He opposes the tripartite pact publicly at a time when Japanese nationalism is not a mood to tolerate dissent from uniformed officers. The death threats begin. Throughout 1938 and into 1939, young Army and naval officers write to him with increasing menace. Nationalists see his opposition as betrayal. His colleagues grow worried. What they settle on reveals everything about how dangerous the moment has become. Promote him and make him commander-in-chief of the combined fleet. Put him on a ship in the harbor rather than an office in Tokyo, where a man with political enemies is easier to find. He accepts the transfer. He takes command of the fleet, and he keeps warning. In 1940, he tells Prime Minister Fumimaro Konoye directly, "If we are ordered to do it, then I can guarantee to put up a tough fight for the first 6 months, but I have absolutely no confidence as to what would happen if it went on for 2 or 3 years." He is not speaking in euphemisms. He is telling the Prime Minister of Japan to his face that war with the United States will eventually be lost. In September 1941, with the oil embargo already in effect and the window of decision closing, he says it again. "For a while, we'll have everything our own way, stretching out in every direction like an octopus spreading its tentacles. But it'll last for 1.5 years at the most." Those warnings are delivered to the men making the decision. They hear him. They understand him. Japan proceeds anyway. What follows is not the story of a government that didn't know what it was doing. By October 1941, the last moderate has stepped aside. Prince Konoye, the Prime Minister, who has spent 2 years trying to thread some negotiated path through the crisis, who has twice attempted to arrange a direct meeting with Roosevelt, who lacks the resolve to sign the order for war, resigns. He is replaced by War Minister Hideki Tojo. Tojo is 56 years old, the son of a general, the product of the Imperial Military Academy, and a man who has spent his entire adult life inside the logic of the army. Discipline above everything, honor above survival, submission never. He is not a fanatic in the theatrical sense. He is a hard, precise administrator who genuinely believes that what he is about to authorize is Japan's only honorable path. When Konoye asks him to agree in principle to a Japanese withdrawal from China, the core American demand, the condition on which the oil might flow again, Tojo does not waver. "I make no concessions regarding withdrawal," he says. "It means defeat of Japan by the United States, a stain on the history of the Japanese Empire." The arithmetic Tokyo is running in the autumn of 1941 is this. Japan's naval tonnage stands at roughly 70% of American totals, a position that will never be better, only worse, marred as American shipyards accelerate. 18 carriers laid down, 6 battleships, 33 cruisers, more. Every month Japan waits, the ratio shifts further against it. The window is open now, it will never be this open again. And without oil, there is no window at all. Just a clock running to zero. Japanese planners know with clear eyes that a long war against the United States ends in Japanese defeat. They are not deluded about this. What they believe, and this is the gamble, the specific bet that fails, is that the war will not be long. A stunning first blow on the scale of Admiral Heihachiro Togo's surprise attack on the Russian fleet at Port Arthur in 1904 might shatter American will before American industry can turn to the task of war. On Japan looks at America in 1941 and sees a country deeply divided about foreign involvement. Isolationism powerful, the president constrained, and concludes that the American public might choose not to fight a long Pacific War for a chain of islands most Americans cannot find on a map. The calculation is coherent. It simply turns out to be wrong about the most important variable. On December 1st, 1941, the Imperial Conference convenes. Japan's highest decision-making body. The question before it is formal. The answer has been building for weeks, like water behind a dam. The conference votes for war. Emperor Hirohito issues his orders to Yamamoto. The moment arrives, not with a thunderclap, but with the quiet finality of a bureaucratic resolution. The door does not slam, it closes, and it does not open again. So the plan is already in motion. Yamamoto has been designing it since January of that year. Letters and revisions, operational details he has supervised personally down to the smallest calculation. He proposes it first to the Navy Minister, fights it through 9 months of opposition from the Naval General Staff, and finally threatens to resign unless it is approved. In October, approval comes. The strike force is 6 fleet carriers, the Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, Shokaku, Zuikaku, carrying 414 aircraft, together the most powerful carrier force ever assembled. On November 26th, the fleet sorties from Hitokapu Bay in the Kuril Islands under Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo and crosses the North Pacific under strict radio silence. A 3,500-mile passage through some of the most punishing ocean on Earth. In late November in the North Pacific means gray seas, rolling swells, spray freezing on the decks, refueling operations in conditions no peacetime exercise had ever attempted. The route is chosen for its isolation. No shipping lanes, no surveillance, just cold water and low cloud and 30 warships moving east. Yamamoto does not go with them. He stands on the bridge of the Nagato as the fleet diminishes over the horizon. He has designed this machine. He has fought to build it. Now it is sailing in a direction he believes is wrong, to do something he believes will end badly, and there is nothing left for him to do but wait. It is Sunday, December 7th, 1941. The harbor is mirror flat. The temperature over Oahu hovers around 70 degrees, a gentle Hawaiian morning. Sailors who are awake are beginning their Sunday routines. And Battleship Row is packed. 8 capital ships moored along Ford Island's eastern shore. At the Army radar station at Opana Point, on the northern tip of the island, 2 operators pick up a massive return on their oscilloscope at 7:02 in the morning. The contact is large, unusually large. They report it up the chain of command. They are told it is probably American B-17 bombers inbound from the mainland. Stand down. Earlier that morning, the destroyer Ward has depth-charged a submarine contact at the harbor entrance. The report travels up the chain. It is not connected to anything. The diplomatic cables decrypted by American code breakers that week contain abundant signals of Japanese intent. The specific location, the specific date, are not in the cables. The picture is on the table in pieces, and no one assembles it before 7:55 in the morning, when 183 aircraft of the Imperial Japanese Navy arrive over Pearl Harbor. What is not there? The carriers. The USS Enterprise is 200 miles west, returning from ferrying aircraft to Wake Island. The USS Lexington is southwest, on a similar mission to Midway. The USS Saratoga is on the Pacific coast, undergoing repairs. As Mitsuo Fuchida's pilots push into their attack runs, as the first bombs fall on Battleship Row, and the Arizona's forward magazine detonates in a column of fire visible across the island, the three ships that will decide the Pacific War are several hundred miles away. Japan's strike force has found the American Navy's past, the dreadnoughts of the last war, and missed its future entirely. The attack runs for approximately 2 hours. When the second wave withdraws, 2,403 Americans are dead, 1,178 wounded. Nagumo, the task force commander, considers a third wave, one targeting Pearl Harbor's fuel storage tanks, dry docks, and repair infrastructure. He decides against it. He fears a counterattack. He orders the fleet north. The fuel tanks stay intact. The repair facilities stay intact. The fleet that will rebuild and fight will have everything it needs, within miles of where it was hurt. In the days and weeks that follow, the accounting begins. 6 of the 8 battleships Japan struck are eventually raised from the harbor mud and returned to service. The fuel reserves Nagumo chose not to destroy keep the Pacific Fleet operational within days. The carriers, Enterprise, Lexington, Saratoga, are already conducting operations before the harbor stops burning. And there is also the question of what Pearl Harbor does to American public opinion. Japan's strategists had looked at an isolationist America and calculated division. What they produce instead is unanimity. The diplomatic note intended to be delivered before the bombs fell arrives, after, delayed by translation problems, making the attack, in American eyes, an act of treachery without warning. Japan might have forced America into the Pacific War sideways, through British and Dutch losses, in a way that kept the isolationist bloc intact and the public ambivalent. Instead, it creates the one event that ends American ambivalence in a single morning. The giant, so often invoked, was not asleep. American rearmament had been accelerating for 2 years. The war industries were already spinning. Pearl Harbor does not awaken American industrial power, and it simply gives it a single, unambiguous target. Yamamoto understands this immediately. He writes afterward that a military man can scarcely take pride in having struck a sleeping enemy, that it is more a matter of shame, simply, for the one struck. He's writing about Japan. He knows what he has started. Yamamoto said it would go well for the first 6 months. He said after that he had no confidence. Both proved true. Japan's forces sweep across Southeast Asia and the Pacific in the months following Pearl Harbor, Malaya, Singapore, the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies, Burma. The empire expands at a pace that seems to confirm the plan's logic, but Yamamoto's clock is running. June 4th, 1942. Exactly 6 months after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese carrier fleet engages American forces near Midway Atoll in the Central Pacific. Look, in the space of 5 minutes, American dive bombers find 3 of Japan's fleet carriers and leave them burning. A 4th is sunk by day's end. The Akagi, the Kaga, the Soryu, the Hiryu, the core of the strike force that hit Pearl Harbor, gone. The naval window Yamamoto warned about closes in an afternoon. The war Japan feared is now the war Japan is fighting. He was right about the timeline. He was right about the carriers. He was right about all of it. Being right changed nothing. April 18th, 1943. American code breakers in Pearl Harbor intercept and decrypt a message detailing Admiral Yamamoto's inspection tour of Japanese bases in the Solomon Islands. A precise itinerary, departure times, aircraft types, the route over Bougainville Island. The 16 P-38 Lightnings of the 339th Fighter Squadron are dispatched from Guadalcanal on a 400-mile intercept mission, flying at wave-top height to stay below radar. They find him exactly where the codes say he will be. His transport aircraft comes down in the jungle canopy over Bougainville. He is found still strapped into his seat. White-gloved left hand, 2 fingers missing from Tsushima, a bullet through his jaw and another through his shoulder. His sword still in his hand, as though he had been bracing for something he could see coming. The man who planned Pearl Harbor is dead because Americans read his codes. The same exploitation of signals intelligence, the same analytical precision, the same penetration of an enemy's communications that he built his career around. The weapon he mastered turned and found him. There is a line that circulates in film and on posters and in public memory as Yamamoto's most famous statement. It runs something like this: "I fear all we have done is awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." It is a powerful line. It sounds exactly like something he would say. There is no documented source for it anywhere. No letter, no diary entry, no contemporary account. It was written for a movie. What Yamamoto actually wrote before the attack in a letter to a colleague was this: that it would not be enough to take Guam and the Philippines, not even Hawaii and San Francisco. To make victory certain, Japan would have to march into Washington and dictate peace terms in the White House. He wrote that not as a boast. He wrote it as a warning. Here is what winning would actually require. Here is what we cannot do. He told Konoye it would last a year and a half at the outside. He was off by 2.5 years. Japan's defeat, when it came in August 1945, was precisely what he had described. Total, unconditional, the complete dismantling of everything the empire had spent a generation of building. Tojo survived his own suicide attempt when Allied forces closed in. He was nursed back to health, tried for war crimes, and hanged in December 1948. Konoye, the prime minister who chose resignation rather than war, took his own life in December 1945 rather than face Allied arrest. The battleships Japan thought it had destroyed came back. The war Japan thought it could end in 6 months lasted 44. Yamamoto did not live to see any of it. He died over Bougainville in April 1943. On the schedule he had set for himself when he told a prime minister what was coming. He spent years trying to prevent the war, designed it when prevention failed, and was killed by the people he had been trying to avoid fighting, using exactly the method he had used to start it. He knew what was coming with more precision than anyone around him. It did not save a single life.